What's up, YouTube? Tonight I'm going to walk you through the games I picked up in the month of January 2015. Much like last month, it was a month very heavy on Sega Genesis. I did a lot of upgrading from loose copies to at least boxed, and in most cases complete copies of those games. Luckily, I've had a source locally. I've been able to get a lot of complete Genesis games over the last couple months, and I continued to buy those this month. Didn't make a whole lot of progress on my collecting goals of collecting for the Sega Saturn, Nintendo Game Boy, and Super Nintendo, but I did get a few games for those I'll go over as well. So let's do everything but the Genesis games first, and then I'll wrap up the video with all the Genesis pickups, because there's quite a few of those. So hopefully if you're a fan of the Genesis, you'll really enjoy that section of the video. The first thing I want to cover is the shirt I'm wearing, and this was a shirt I picked up from 1cc Shirts. 1 coin credit is what that stands for. Or, sorry, 1 coin clear. It's a term for beating an arcade game on 1 quarter. And they have a great selection of shirts. They're all limited edition. They make 1 per month, and once that month is sold out of pre-orders, they never make that shirt again. So really cool to bookmark their site, see what shirts they're making every month. This month's shirt is a really cool, obscure character. It's the PC Engine Man, and he was featured in the shooting game Star Parodier on the Japanese PC Engine. I thought it was a cool mascot character. I mean, there's a lot of gaming shirts out there, but if you want to get my money for a gaming shirt, come up with something really above the common knowledge and common characters that you see every day. So I thought this was a great shirt. I was happy to give them my money, and based on some of the other designs they've come out with lately, I'm sure I'll be buying many more of their shirts in the near future. But you guys want to hear about games, so let's move on to games next. I'm going to start off with the Sony systems first, and then we'll move into Nintendo, and then finally all the Genesis games I got. First thing I picked up were a couple games for the Sony PlayStation. And first one of those is Kingsfield 2. Nothing crazy there. Second one is one I've been looking for a long time. This is a very hard game to find. And that is Vanarch. And this is a really cool game for the PlayStation. It's essentially like Star Fox 64, but for PlayStation, with a little bit more of an anime storyline. I highly recommend this game if you can find it. I think a lot of those Jaleco games like this, they just didn't make a whole lot of, but this is a very neat game. I'm happy to add this to the collection. Next I'm going to move on to PS2. I only picked up one game for that this month. It's a pretty neat one though. It's the deluxe edition of Wild Arms 5, and this comes with an art book as well inside the box. Very cool package. I do like the Wild Arms games. I haven't played this one yet, but I'm happy to add this to the collection too. I think this is a neat package. Again, Xseed, I mean, they almost seem like the working designs of today, because some of the packages they've been putting out over the last couple of years, I'm just getting caught up on now, and they have some really cool stuff. So I think this is another neat package by them with this very bright gold foil cover. So neat stuff. Next thing I'm going to go over is the PSP. And if you saw my last video, I just picked up a PSP for the first time last month. So I'm playing catch up with the huge library of great stuff there is on the PSP. So I did get quite a few games for it this month. The first one of these is Sengoku Ace Episode 3. This is an exclusive shooter for the PSP, but it is part of a series that was arcade games and also got ported to systems like the PS1 and PS2 in the past, as well as the Japanese Sega Saturn. This one is not really that great. It almost feels like a budget title the way it looks. It's not hand-drawn 2D sprites like the original ones were. It's more like 3D graphics, but on a 2D plane. Feels cheap, like I said. I'm a little disappointed with it, but I don't know. I guess it's neat that the PSP got this because it is exclusive. The one thing I'm noticing about the PSP is there is no shortage of games with really unique titles for it. So this is the one that I added to my collection this month that I did play quite a bit of. I did enjoy it. It's very difficult control scheme. There's a lot to it. But it is a neat game. Hopefully I'll give it a little more time. But that is Prinny 2, Dawn of Operation Panties Dude. Yeah, you kind of have to play the game to understand the reference there. But definitely a unique title. And I'm kind of new to the whole Prinny character, but I guess he's part of all the NIS series games. So if you're into those, you're well versed in Prinny. I'm just kind of learning about him now. But yeah. Kind of a neat game, though. There is a first one of these as well for the PSP. I'd like to get that also. I just happened to find the second one first. So, cool stuff. I do like the graphic style in this one. It's very well done. Next one is another NIS game that I haven't played yet, but this one it seems to be pretty highly regarded, and that is ZHP, Unlosing Ranger versus Dark Death Evil Man. Again, like I said, PSP has no shortage of games with interesting titles, so hopefully I'll give a chance to try this one out over the coming days, but it seems to be a pretty cool game as well. Next one of these is a game that I didn't think I needed because it's an arcade compilation I thought I already had all the games on. That is Taito Legends Power Up. If you've seen my videos, you know I'm probably the world's biggest Taito fan. I thought I had like pretty much all the Taito stuff out there. The Taito Legends series, or actually Taito Memories as it's called in Japan, there were 4 of those released for the Japanese PS2, and as well as 2 Taito Legends series games for the US PS2 and Xbox. Between the PS2 and the Xbox versions, US and Japanese, I thought I had a complete set of all the arcade ports that were released to it. However, I found out this PSP one has 4 unique remakes of classic Taito games included that are on no other version of the release. So I thought that was kind of weird that it's on the PSP that way. However, it was something else I needed to add to my Taito collection. Unfortunately, those 4 remake games, they're all kind of dull. They feel like just kind of freeware games. They're nothing too special. But I did want to add this to the collection just because, being a Taito fanatic, I have to own it all. So cool to get that, I guess. And it is a lot cheaper to get this in US form than the Japanese version of this game, which is the same thing, except it has Rainbow Islands in it. So I don't know why they pulled that out for the US version, because a lot of people do like Rainbow Islands, but regardless, otherwise it's the same pack as what you get with there. So kind of neat. This next one is another arcade compilation. This is one that I've been wanting to add to the collection because it didn't get a US release. And a lot of people have seen the SNK Arcade Classics Volume 1 that came out on the US PS2 and the Wii. However, no Volume 2 ever came out. It just died with that first release. So everyone thought that, well, that's the only one there is. However, for the PSP, there is an exclusive that only came out in Korea, but PSP is region free, so you can play this on a US PSP, that is unique, and it has more SNK classics. So that is SNK Arcade Classics Volume 0. So you're saying, why isn't this Volume 2? Why is it Volume 0? Well, Volume 1 was made up of many of their Neo Geo classic arcade games on MVS carts, and this is all about SNK games that were before Neo Geo. So if you think of games up until about 1990 or so. So mostly the SNK games they made in the 80s. A lot of cool stuff on this pack. It has things like Psycho Soldier, Ikari Warriors 3, Touchdown Fever, the other Ikari Warrior games, some of the early baseball games, HAL 21, which I believe is a shooter. A lot of cool stuff like that that is exclusive to this pack. So I haven't opened this yet. It came sealed from Korea. And looking forward to giving this a shot because I do like a lot of those early arcade games that SNK put out. So pretty neat pack. I'm glad this exists. I wish it was on a TV version of it, but that's okay. I can deal with playing this on PSP. Next thing I got for PSP is Crimson Gem Saga by Atlas. Haven't played this one yet. Next one's another arcade game compilation, and that is Capcom Classics Collection Remixed. Everything on this is on the PS2 and Xbox versions of the game. There's a Collection 1 and Collection 2. I think the stuff on this one is mostly the stuff from Collection 2. It may have some stuff from Collection 1. But I got this super cheap, so I figured whatever. At least I'll have a portable version of this as well. So kind of neat. It is like a lot of the other arcade compilations that because it's on the PSP, you can play vertical games in their natural aspect. So that's kind of cool. That's something that is even more difficult to play on a TV. But with the PSP, with you just being able to tilt the system, it's very easy to play games in vertical mode. So it's kind of a cool feature. Next one I got for PSP is Street Supremacy. And you're thinking, wow, that looks like a really lame US street racing game. Why would you want that crap? Actually, this is part of one of my favorite series. Many of you would know that as Tokyo Extreme Racer or Import Tuner Challenge on the Xbox 360. In Japan, it's known as Shutoku Battle, and it's a long-running series of racing on Japanese highways at night. being able to tune up your cars, things like that, and it's got a lot of character to it. It's one of my favorite racing series. It's unfortunate that it has this cheesy box art and name for the US release, but this is a unique entry in the series for the PSP, so I did want to add this. I haven't played this one yet, but I can say that series, I've put tons and tons of hours into those games, so I'm sure I'll like this game. Moving on to another PSP release, that is Castlevania, the Dracula X Chronicles. This features Castlevania Symphony of the Night that was originally from the PS1 and Japanese Saturn, and it also has Castlevania Rondo of Blood, which was the PC Engine release for the Castlevania series. That's probably the main attraction to this. I do own the PC Engine original, so I'm used to playing that. I haven't played it on the PSP yet to compare, see if it holds up the same, but I think it's cool that that gets the game out to a lot larger audience of people. Especially in the US, since that game never had a US release until now. So, cool pack. I'm glad this exists as well. Next one I got for PSP is Ultimate Ghosts and Goblins. I think this is a kind of a remix on the original Ghosts and Goblins series game. I haven't played this one yet, but I will say the screenshots look pretty good on it, and I do like the games in the series. So, looking forward to trying this one out. Next one is another shooter that's unique to the PSP. And that is part of the long-running R-Type series. So this one is R-Type Command. Again, haven't played this one, but looks good from the box art. I just want to get all the shooters for the system while I can, and I'm sure I'll get caught up someday and I can say I've played them all. But there are a lot of cool exclusive shooters for the PSP, which is one of the reasons I like the system so much already. Finally, for the PSP, I got one more game that has, again, a crazy title, and that is What Did I Do to Deserve This, My Lord 2. Yeah, I just basically got it because I liked the title and it was super cheap. So maybe I'll give it a shot. I don't know if I'll like this or not, but cool game based on the title alone. Alright, so that's all the PSP games I got this month. Let's move on to a system I don't even own yet. And basically what happens, and this is what happened with the PSP, is I started buying games for it, which forced me to buy the system later on. So I'll probably be getting one of these systems soon. What I'm talking about is the PS3. I've actually never owned a PS3 system. Don't really see a whole lot on that system that I need to own. If you know of some PS3 games that are a must-own, please leave me a comment in the field below. Let me know what I need to pick up, because I'm exploring that library kind of heavy right now. I'm sure I'll be getting a PS3 in the near future, but for now I want to start getting some of the games. The first one of those is Under Defeat HD Deluxe Edition. I did used to own this game when it originally came out on the Japanese Dreamcast. It's a helicopter shooter, and it is, it's okay. I won't say it's great. I actually sold my Japanese Dreamcast version because the Japanese Dreamcast also had a game called Zero Gunner 2, which is also a helicopter shooter, and I felt that game was superior. However, this game's been given a remix for the PS3. It's in HD now. Hopefully it looks a little better. Maybe I'll like it better with a second try. The PS3 not having a lot of shooters on it, that makes it kind of unique in the first place, so that's basically why I wanted to own it. I'm sure I'll give this a try as soon as I get a PS3, and maybe I'll like the game more this time around. But cool that this exists. It is a neat package. It has a soundtrack CD and artwork CD included with it too, so it's a nice little bonus. But yeah, pretty neat that that exists. The other game I got for the PS3 is a Japanese-only release. It's kind of interesting because it was a US-developed game. From what I understand, this game was only available online in the US, but the only physical version of the game existed in Japan. So, again, I wanted to get one of those before it was too late, so I got a sealed copy of that, and that is the Strider game for the Japanese PS3. As I said before, this one is a US-developed Strider game, and if you've ever played the UK-developed Strider game for the Sega Genesis, you know that that's kind of a scary thought. However, this one really looks great from the videos I've seen, and the reviews I've seen of it seem pretty good too. So PS3 is region-free as well, which is a nice feature, so this will be easy to play once I do eventually get a PS3. But this game is pretty cheap if you want to pick one of these up right now. There's a lot of sellers selling them in Japan, bulk lots on eBay and Amazon, so it's a good time to buy games from Japan. Our dollar is pretty strong versus the yen right now, so a good way to add some import games to your collection if you're interested. But that's all I got for the PS3 this month. Next, I'm going to go over the games I got for the Sega Saturn, and like I said, I'm trying to get a full US Saturn set. I didn't make a whole lot of progress this month. I only got 2 games, which I think gets me down to 68 more I need. So the first one of those is Command and Conquer. This one's nothing special, but it is a 2-disc game, so it's kind of unique. Otherwise, in nice shape, but nothing too crazy. The other game I got for the Saturn this month is considered one of the rarer ones. It's one that also got a release on the PS1. And I believe what I read about this game is the Saturn version is actually considered to be quite a bit better than the PS1 game. I don't really think this is something I'm going to get into. It's not really my style of game, but it is kind of cool to pick up. So that is Power Slave for the Saturn. That's all I got for the Saturn this month. So we'll move on to the Microsoft systems. Again, really quick on these. I only got 2 games. First one of those is for the original Xbox, and this is a shooter that I just recently found out about. I think this was a pretty low production game. It seems like every time I find this game, it's a former rental copy from Blockbuster. Usually pretty beat up, missing the manual. It's in a black case versus the green Xbox cases. So to find one of these that was original and complete was kind of cool. The game I'm talking about is Cyanide. And I believe there's a sequel of this for something, maybe download only, I don't know. But based on the graphics, looks pretty cool. I mean, it's a Western design shooter, but hopefully it'll be pretty good. The reviews I've read of this game really seem to like it. I think it just fell under the radar. So neat to get that while you can. Next game I got is for the 360, and I only picked up 1 game for that this month as well. I believe this game is based on a German television show that I've watched clips of on YouTube. It's basically a German police chase video, or German police chase TV show, and a lot of cool European cars getting chased around by the cops, crazy stunts, lots of explosions, basically very Michael Bay, but with a German take to it. So what's interesting is if my suspicion is correct and this game is based on that TV show, there's actually 2 games that came over to the US for the 360 based on that show. They both have different titles, and both of them seem to be very rare. So I picked up one of those this month. I'd like to get the other one next month. But the first one of those, or actually I think this is the second one, is called Crash Time Autobahn Pursuit. The other game that is out on the US 360 is called Autobahn Polizei. So basically the same theme. It's German police chasing around a whole bunch of European cars, stunts, things like that. I don't know how the games hold up, but I think it's just a really cool theme. I think it's cool that we got these, considering that most Americans probably have no idea what this TV show is I'm even talking about. And I wish I had the official name. It might even be called Autobahn Polizei. I'm not sure, but look around on YouTube, watch some clips of it. If you like car chases, I think you'll like this show a lot. It actually has kind of a 70s car chase feel to it, the way that the chases are designed. So cool again that this exists. But yeah, that's the only thing I got for 360 this month. One other unique thing I got this month that is kind of weird that I picked this up, because I am not a fan of the Nintendo 64. I've told I think that story many times before. I only see a handful of games on the 64 that are worth owning. However, I do own a 64. I've owned one for many years. One thing I did not have for my 64 is an original box. I didn't buy it brand new. I bought it used even back in the day. So this month I ran into a pristine boxed N64, and I decided that at the price it was worthy of getting it. So I picked that up. I'm going to sell my existing 64 and keep this one. But I picked up a Nintendo 64 Atomic Purple Edition. So this one, not super rare or anything like that, but it's neat because you get 2 controllers. One of them is the Atomic Purple color. And this is all in here. It has both controllers, has all the paperwork, documentation, warranty cards, all that kind of stuff. Basically a very nice condition system. So cool to pick this up. I'm going to sell my existing 64. If anyone's looking for a very clean N64, let me know. If not, I'm sure I'll sell it again soon in the future. So whatever. I mean, I didn't pick up any games for it or anything like that. I only see a few games on the 64 I like, so kind of just whatever on it. But still, it's nice to have the box. I do like having the box for all my classic systems. Next thing I'm going to show you guys is the Wii games I picked up this month, and we'll move into the Nintendo systems. So the first one of those is a shoot 'em up, which I like to own shoot 'em ups. This one, it looks atrocious. The videos I've seen of this look so crappy, so budget designed. I just decided to pick it up because it was very, very cheap, but otherwise I wouldn't even go near this game. But that is Ocean Commander. And yeah, I don't know. I haven't played it yet, but it looks weak. but whatever. It was like $1. The next one I picked up is one that you will find disc only very commonly. I think just about every GameStop out there has it disc only. However, finding this game complete is very tough. So when I found a complete one this month, I had to jump on it. And that is Dokapon Kingdom by Atlas. What I understand is it's kind of a board game, and it's got very good reviews, so hopefully I'll give this one a shot. This also came out on the PS2, which I don't own that version either, but the Wii one I think is considered to be a little bit better. So cool to get that. Again, I was talking about Xseed games earlier. I really want to pick up all the Xseed games for Wii. I think just about everything they put out is really cool. A lot of just unique Japanese games that they decided to publish here. They all have cool artwork. Most of them have reversible covers, and you can tell a lot of love went into the publishing of those. So, first one of those I got this month was Little King's Story. Looks to have a unique art style. I don't know, haven't played it yet, but looks pretty good. Next one of those I got, again, highly rated game. Sounds like it's going to be pretty cool. And that is Pandora's Tower. So, yeah, just another cool Xseed game. And last of all, or second to last, is another Xseed game. And this is one I probably normally would have just walked right by and just said, yeah, whatever. But that is Fishing Resort. And, hey, if Xseed was willing to take a chance on this, maybe it has some hope. The other thing I noticed about this game is this was a Yuji Naka game. Yuji Naka, the developer of Sonic and Knights and Burning Rangers and stuff like that for Sega. I guess this is what he's up to now, is making some kind of unique fishing game. So, I don't know, might be pretty good. I guess I'll give it a shot. But cool that they took a chance and released this here. The last thing I got for Wii is Animal Kingdom Wildlife Expedition by Natsume. This one's sealed. And, I don't know, it's kind of like a Pokemon Snap type game, I guess, but you're on a safari. The other thing that's interesting about this is it's a Natsume developed jungle photo safari game. Well, they also released a game called Africa for the PS3 that I want to play, and that one seems a lot more serious. However, this one is more cartoony, but cool that this came out. You know, I like these little photo snap type games. The original, of course, being Photo Boy on the PC Engine. And if it's anything like that, I'm sure I'll get a kick out of this game. So hopefully I'll give this one a try soon. But cool to pick this up. Again, you know, Natsume games, a lot of these things are pretty low print run, I think. It's cheap right now. I don't know how long it's going to stay that way, so you might want to pick this game up if you can. I got this very cheap on eBay. So, yeah, worth taking a look. Alright, so the next system I'm going to cover is the Nintendo Game Boy Advance, and I don't normally buy Game Boy Advance games if they're loose. However, I found a couple interesting games this month, both Natsume titles, that I wanted to add to the collection, so I decided to pick them up, if nothing else, as placeholders until I can get a complete one. The first one of those is Car Battler Joe, and this is some kind of strange car-based RPG. I played a little bit of it from an existing save file. I couldn't really figure out what was going on, but I got beat up in battle pretty quick, and I don't know, I guess I need to give this a legit play from the start, but definitely a unique title for sure. I can't think of anything that compares to this game, so kind of neat. The other one I got is Metabots, and this is the Metabee edition. There were like 4 of these Metabots games for the Game Boy Advance. For some reason, this one is considered by far the rarest and goes for the most money. Again, that's complete. This one's loose, which probably isn't that great, but yeah, for some reason this game seems to be pretty popular. So, haven't played this. I don't know, maybe I'll give it a shot soon. Next, we'll move on to the Game Boy Color, and I picked up a few games for that. This first game I picked up just because it was, A, it was really cheap, and B, I'd never heard of this before. I didn't even know this existed. I know the original Game Boy really well, the ins and outs of what the rare games are and all that. Game Boy Color, I'm still learning, but the fact that this existed and it was just completely off my radar meant I had to have it. So that game is Rocks, and this is a Titus published game. And normally I would say, oh my god, it's going to be horrible. However, it was developed by Ultron in Japan, which made a lot of puzzle games during this time period. So hopefully it's pretty cool. It looks like a Tetris-style game, but with matching dice. And I guess you match up the dice amount, and then that way it eliminates them once they drop onto the screen. So I guess cool that this came out here. And, you know, it's weird that Titus published it, but I never see this game. I can't imagine this is very common. Next is another very rare game for Game Boy Color, and this is something you would never see today, because it's Microsoft and Nintendo on the same system. So this is Microsoft Pinball Arcade for the Nintendo Game Boy Color. This is a collection of 5 classic Gottlieb pinball tables, and I use the word classic a little loosely because if they're anything like the ports on this game, they're pretty bad. We're talking early pinball here. I mean, the very first one on this game is from like 1933. So there really isn't a lot to do in these. I mean, they're very, very basic pinball games. The latest game on this collection is like from 1980, I think. So we're just getting into the era of pinball that I enjoy. But you don't see this much. It's a very rare game for Game Boy Color. I can't recommend it because I do like pinball compilations, but the stuff on this one is just so old that it's not fun. So anyway, weird that it's a Microsoft game on a Nintendo system. You'd never see that today. This next one is another very rare game for the Game Boy Color, and it's a classic series I do enjoy. I just got to say that the Game Boy Color version of this is pretty weak. So that is Magical Drop. This is a classic arcade puzzle game. Came out on a lot of systems, Neo Geo, things like that, Japanese Sega Saturn. This is, I think, the only US version of this game that came out, though, so not common at all. I was looking for this one. I happened to stumble on it, and I was happy to pick this up. Next we'll move into the original Game Boy, which is the system I am collecting out of these. Didn't get a whole lot this month, just a few games. So the first one of those is Ring Rage by Natsume. Haven't tried that one yet, but I like adding Natsume games to the collection. Second one of these is Harvest Moon GB, also by Natsume. And this one, most of the Harvest Moon games for Game Boy Color are super common. However, this one, since it came out toward the very end of the black and white Game Boy life, I think this game's pretty rare. I don't see this too often. This might have actually came out the same time as the Super Nintendo Harvest Moon, but I'm not positive about that. So something to be interesting to see if the release date was the same time. I think it's essentially the same game, just toned down a little bit for the Game Boy. This last one I got for the Game Boy, this is one of the rarest games on the Game Boy. It's a cool game, too. It's just kind of a weak port of a great game. But that is Captain America and the Avengers. And for some reason, like I said, the Game Boy version of this game is pretty darn rare. You can find this relatively easy for the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. Came out on the Game Gear as well, so it had a lot of ports. It's a port of the arcade game, and unfortunately the Game Boy one is pretty watered down, but, whatever. It's kind of neat that it exists. Alright, next system is the Super Nintendo, and I got 2 things in the box this month. First one of these does not have a manual, it's just the box only. With the game, and that is Mario is Missing. So it's one of the educational Mario games. Not so great to play. The next thing I got that is complete, and it's not a game, is a official Nintendo cleaning kit. Probably won't use this, but for the price I paid, it was worth picking up. Just think it's a neat box to add to the collection. Alright, so let's get into the rest of the Super Nintendo games. I did get quite a few good ones this month. Some of these are just whatever. First one of these is The Great Circus Mystery, starring Mickey and Minnie. And this next one is one of the big titles for the Super Nintendo. This is the second to last one I need for this series, and that is Mega Man 7. This is one that goes for pretty big bucks, but I got a good price on it this month. So the last one I need for Super Nintendo, there's 5 Mega Man games on the Super Nintendo, and the last one I need to get is X3, which is another expensive one. Next game I picked up is Spider-Man. Haven't tried that one yet. This next one's one that I think everyone is expected to own on the Super Nintendo. I just never had a copy of it. So that is Star Fox. Yes, I've played Star Fox before. I just, for some reason, never owned it. Not really a super fan of the game. Next one is another good one for the Super Nintendo, and that is Lufia 2, Rise of the Sinistrals. I do have the manual for this game. I've just had the manual laying around for years, so I don't have a box or anything, but kind of cool. It's another Natsume game. It's a pretty rare release for the Super Nintendo, so cool to get that scratched off the list. This next one is one that I've been looking for everywhere for the last few months. It's a very hard game to find in good condition, and this one, unfortunately, the label is pretty torn up. But again, I will take this as a placeholder for now. I do want to play this. I mean, it's a cool classic arcade beat 'em up, and did get a port to Super Nintendo. So what I'm talking about here is Captain Commando. And like you can see, the label is almost half gone, but whatever. Like I say, this game is very hard to find. I was glad to get it. I looked into getting a replacement label for this. There's some guys on eBay that sell replacement labels, and I think that's a little shady, is putting those replacements on your cart. I was only going to do it in the case of this one just because this original one is so beat up. However, once I compared it to the original one, I realized that those replacement ones, they're not a one-to-one mix. The cropping on the artwork is different, and they just look very shiny, like they look fake. So after looking them over, I said, no, I'm not going to do that to this cartridge. I'll leave this one like it is. If I get a better one down the road, I'll swap it out. But for now, just happy to get this game. I really do want to play this. So cool to get that scratched off the list too. This next one is no big deal by comparison, but that was a free game I got this month. That was Super Slapshot. And finally, for Super Nintendo, I got one more game, and that is a big title. Again, one of the best games on my existing list of stuff I didn't have that I was very happy to get scratched off that list this month. So that is Metal Warriors by Konami, and this game is very highly regarded. I'm going to make time to play this probably as soon as this video is over tonight, because I'm really looking forward to trying this out. But this is a big one. I'm glad to get this scratched off my list too, because I've been looking pretty hard to find this game also. So very cool to pick that up this month. Alright, next is the Sega Master System, and then we'll do Sega Genesis. And like I said, there's a lot of Genesis. So Master System, I picked up 3 games. First one of those is a complete copy of Fantasy Zone, and I was upgrading from a card-only one I had. Next one is a boxed copy of Fantasy Zone 2. And then finally is a boxed copy of the Ninja. I do like Ninja action games, so I'm sure this will be pretty cool. Alright, let's do the Sega Genesis. So, like I said, I found a source of many complete and boxed Genesis games over the last couple months. I've been going back and getting more and more. Probably about wiped them out at this point as far as what I'm going to be able to get. But I did a lot of upgrading from stuff I had card-only for many, many years. So we'll start off with probably the most unique box of those, and that is a big box. And that is for Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? And this is the deluxe fat box edition that actually has a encyclopedia in the box. So probably not something you would ever use today because we have the internet now. But before, if you wanted to find facts about places and things, that was what you turned to. So that is something that you needed to beat this game. So I think it's pretty cool that they included that. So neat package to have. It is complete. Going into all the complete games, we'll do, actually, you know what, we'll do the loose ones and boxed ones first, then we'll do the complete ones. So, loose games, I only got a few. First one of these is Universal Soldier, and why would I want some crappy movie licensed game? Well, I didn't think I did want this game until recently I found out that this is part of the Turrican series. Mega Turrican for the Genesis is one of the best games on the system. The original Turrican is also on the Genesis and is not nearly as good. This is Turrican 2 in Europe, and it slots right in between those other 2 games. For the US, they replaced the characters with crappy movie licensed versions of them from this movie. So what I understand is the gameplay is very similar to the other Turrican games, because it originally was one. And looking forward to trying this out. I think that's kind of a neat story behind this game. So this is a hard one to find complete because it comes in a paper box. But for now, I'm happy just to have this card only. I just want to give it a try and see how it is. Next loose one I got is Super Heidelide. And then I got one more loose game this month. This is one that goes for big bucks. So for now, again, I'm just happy to have a loose one. But that is The Punisher, which is a arcade port from Capcom. This next one is cartridge and manual only, and that is Caliber 50, which is another cool arcade port for the Genesis. So hopefully I'll be able to get a box for that one eventually. That's one I'd like to have complete. Alright, so the rest of these are box and cartridge only, and then I'll go over the complete ones. So first one of those is Gadget Twins, which is a shooter. Not very good, but it's very cartoony. Next one of those is Shinobi 3, Return of the Ninja Master. I do like the Shinobi games. This next one's a renovation game, and if you've been following my videos, you know I'm trying to collect all the renovation games complete. This one's only boxed. It's going to be very hard to find a manual for it, I'm sure, but for now I'm happy to get this. And that is Vapor Trail, which is a Data East shooter, which is cool to add to the collection. I like this game. Next one is Crossfire, which is another arcade port. Then we have Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, which most of you would know as Puyo Puyo as an arcade game. Next I have Sunset Riders, and I've owned the Super Nintendo version of this for a while. It's the first time I've gotten the Genesis one. Then we have another renovation game, which is one of probably the lamest ones, but that is Jennifer Capriati Tennis. Then we get to another renovation game. This is a good one. Unfortunately, it's box only. I wish I had the manual for it, but it's a very cool one. Definitely one of the more expensive renovation games, and that is Master of Monsters. Cool box art on that one, too. Next Genesis game I got is one that has a very good reputation. I didn't really think I cared about it because I don't like licensed US movie games. However, I found out that this one was developed by Compile in Japan, and that made me want to play it pretty bad. So that is Ghostbusters, and glad to get that one boxed. It's a cool box. Alright, so everything else I got for the Genesis is complete, so let's go over all those. First one of those is a very, very cool shooter I highly recommend, and that is Battle Squadron. This is a UK-developed shooter that, I don't know, I think it came out on Amiga or something like that originally, but this is a great game. I think it's very underrated for the Genesis, so definitely pick this up if you like shooters. Next one is another paper box game, and that is Super Off-Road, port of the arcade game. Then we have another shooter, Steel Empire. It's a cool game. One I haven't played yet, Shadow Blasters. Then we have Spider-Man and the X-Men. It's not a very good game, but I like the characters. Next one's another renovation game. This is a hard one to get. That is Dino Land. It's a pinball game, but it's not very good. I do like pinball games, like I've said, but this one's not that hot. Next one's a puzzle game by Konami. It was originally an arcade game. It's Junction. Then we have Decap Attack, one of the first party games. Next is a title game. That is Hit the Ice. This was an arcade game as well. Next is another pinball game. That is Dragon's Revenge, sequel to Dragon's Fury. Then we have another first-party Sega game. That's Bonanza Brothers. This next one is kind of unique because it's in Spanish language for the U.S. market, and that is Chavez 2. It's a boxing game. Next one is Crackdown, which is another first-party Sega game. I think it was published by somebody else, but it was made by Sega. Next one is Last Battle, and this is actually a Fist of the North Star related game. Then we have Landstalker by Sega. Isometric game, it's kind of cool. Next is a Toaplan arcade port of a shooter, and that is Twin Cobra. Next one is, I don't know, kind of a unique game. It's Bimini Run. And then we have DJ Boy, which I like this box art. Especially the back. I mean, how cocky is that? There's no text. It's just a solid photo of DJ Boy. Yeah. Neat box. Another neat box, I think, is King of the Monsters. Don't see that one too often. And then another renovation game. There's another shooter. It's Whip Rush. Then we have Phantasy Star 2. This one has like a couple fragments of the map. It doesn't have everything. It's missing most of it. Another Shinobi game. This is Shadow Dancer, The Secret of Shinobi. And then we also have Revenge of Shinobi. This one's kind of unique because it's the version 1.0 of the cartridge. Basically what it was is they had a bunch of licensed characters that they didn't pay to use featured as bosses in this game. And what I confirmed is this is a version 1.0 because it has all the licensed characters that they eventually had to start taking some of them out when their owners complained. So this one has an appearance by Spider-Man, Batman, Godzilla, and Rambo are all featured in this game. Obviously they're not named, but you can clearly tell that's who it is. So very cool to get this version of the cartridge. Next is Alien Storm. Then we have Outrunners. I really like Outrun, so it's cool to get that. Another renovation game, not one of the better ones. Todd's Adventures in Slime World. Another renovation game. It is Final Zone. I do like this one. Then we have another very cool Taito game. This is a port of an arcade game, and that is Kadash. Then we have Afterburner 2. Superman by Sunsoft. Devilish think I've talked about this game before. I really like it. It's kind of a pinball and Arkanoid and satanic imagery combination. Can't go wrong with that. Next is another renovation game, and that is Trazia. It's an RPG. This next one's a cool box, and that is Marvel Land. Next we have Dynamite Duke, which is an arcade game as well. Another classic Sega game, and that is Flicky. And finally we have one more, and that is Wardner. This is a very hard game to find complete. So yeah, like I said, quite a bit for the Sega Genesis. Very excited to add those all to the collection. I mean, Genesis games just look so much cooler if you have the box for them, those nice clamshell cases. So don't know how many more I'll be finding over the next month, but definitely a windfall month for those. Hopefully you guys liked this video. Please take a moment, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think. I do want to give a special welcome to all my new followers this month. I've had a lot of new people decide to subscribe to my feed, and I welcome your feedback, and I'm glad you guys chose to watch my videos. So please let me know what you think. If there's nothing else, I'll see you guys and talk to you soon, and have a great day or night wherever you are. Good night.